Hello, you're watching AAN News and I'm Ingrid Yanara. 1 month after the bloodiest campus massacre in history, now Asian Americans are looking back in time and deep into their conscience. What made Cho Sung-hee, a quiet student at Virginia Tech, turn into a violent, cold-hearted killer? The Asian American Journalists Association joined with Columbia College's Center for Asian Arts and Media to hold a public discussion that tries to answer that very question.
The panelists come from all walks of life, a college student, news reporters, and community leaders. On this stage, they share their thoughts on what pushed Cho Sung-hee over the edge. Although many questions may have no answers, Nasida Kwan from Channel 5 leads the panel with one goal.
To try to get people to speak honestly, and in some instances to try to get them to speak provocatively about issues like mental illness and how it's handled in every community, but particularly in the Asian American community, and how the mainstream media, as well as all the other forms of media that we now have, handled the issue of race. Because I think in this case, we really saw an example of how people brought that forward and how there was a real backlash of people who said that that has nothing to do with anything. This is about mental illness.
No, I mean, I don't think it's justified. I mean, it's one person who did the shooting. I mean, not just because a group of people look like him doesn't mean they're associated with him or that they were responsible. You know, it's pretty ridiculous to me.
Race may very well have nothing to do with what Cho Sung-hee had done, but to many people, the color of his skin had caused many Asian Americans fearing a racial backlash.
Pretty much the second when I found out he was Asian, the first thing in my head was that there's going to be a backlash. I mean, I was worried about, was anyone going to look at me weird when I go to school? What's going to happen to the other Asian American kids around the nation?
The public forum may not offer all the answers, but if anything, it was an outlet for Asian Americans to give a wake-up call to their communities on how to deal with mental illness.
Well, my take on this case is that mental illness needs to be less stigmatized. If there's anything that comes out of this, it's that cuts across all racial and socioeconomic lines, and that when people feel trapped or feel like they can't get help, regardless of what his particular circumstances might have been, what this situation tells us is that we most certainly need to have more of an awareness and more intervention early on, particularly for people who are young.
Case is closed for the search of a missing young man from IIT, but for family members, this case is still an open wound. 31-year-old Tin Nguyen is a student from Vietnam. He was reported missing early April. His body was later found in the Chicago River. AAN spoke with the uncle as he tries to uncover the mystery behind his nephew's death.
He's kind of silent. He doesn't talk much, and that's why it's very hard to understand. And when he talks very kind of deeply meaning.
Tin Nguyen is studying at the Illinois Institute of Technology for his PhD in architecture through a scholarship he got from Vietnam. But before he finished IIT, something terrible happened.
One thing you need to know that this is the story that he told his sister, that somebody posted on the website that he's naked picture with his old girlfriend, and that's why he's lost his face. That's why we think that this is the end of the world.
The 31-year-old student reached out to his family just days before he ended his life by jumping into the Chicago River.
When I contact with him on telephone, he just said that he is losing this game. And I said, what's the game you're talking about? And he didn't answer me. And when I talk with him, I feel that he is not stable.
Tin Nguyen's uncle lives in Louisiana, while his parents, who don't speak English, live in Vietnam. His school describes him as an excellent student, but his family doesn't know much about his private life. According to Dr. Debbie Tang, Nguyen's story is common among Asian American families.
Parents don't usually encourage their children to seek professional help. And perhaps there is not a culture or a custom or tradition in the family for members of the family to seek professional help.
And if they do,
it's usually when their lives are at a breaking point.
Much like Cho Sung-hee, the gunman who killed 32 students at Virginia Tech University, then shot himself to death, Tin Nguyen never spoke to a counselor or a psychiatrist, for which if he did, things might have played out differently.
It's a very individualized cases. You have to, look at each individual case differently. But oftentimes, inpatient treatment can really help, and with close monitoring of medication and psychotherapy in the hospital, this person can get so much better.
Dr. Tang, who's a parent herself, says communication is key.
When children say, "Oh, leave me alone, nothing's wrong," the worst thing you can do is really leave them alone. Okay, I want to encourage all parents to be more hands-on, more involved, ask them more questions.
But for Nguyen's family, it's all too late. Tin Nguyen left without a word, but his computer in the apartment may hold the answer to what really happened. And if anything, who's to blame for his death? Police may have closed this case, but for his uncle,
the car scene doing is still in mystery.
The Asian Human Services teamed up with the Chicago Foundation for Women to bring you a special workshop. They will hold a series of town halls, one of which will talk about violence against Asian Pacific American women and girls. Some of the topics to be discussed are suicide, elder abuse, teen dating violence, and human trafficking. The forum will be at Truman College on Chicago's North Side this Wednesday at 4:30 in the afternoon. For more information, email us at AAN41chicago@aol.com. Chicago's Republican Party may lose a significant number of voters in the next elections. At least that's according to local immigrant advocate groups when they were denied entrance to the Republicans' downtown office. Don Tagala has more on how this incident could potentially change the face of politics in the future.
In their efforts to push for bipartisan support on Immigration and Safe Roads Act, community leaders and immigrant rights advocates sent a stern warning to the Republican Party of Illinois. Pay attention or pay the price at the ballot box. The group delivered a stack of 43,000 immigrant voters registration forms to the Republican Party headquarters in downtown Chicago, a big chunk of voters that may significantly affect the outcome of the 2008 elections. But instead of accepting the symbolic stack of future voters, a Republican representative turned them away.
I understand that, sir. I'm going to have to ask you guys to leave, please. I think.
Because the Republican Party.
I understand that. If you guys want to deliver it to 69 West Washington.
Republican Party.
Sir, if you do not cut that camera off, I will destroy it.
Immigrant voters are rapidly changing the face of Illinois politics, yet Republicans seem to continue to ignore the demands of this growing constituency.
Well, I think the message was clear. The Republicans didn't want the immigrant vote. I think voters are going to have to make their decisions and put pressure on the Republican Party to do the right thing. We're disappointed in how they're responding to us, and I think we're going to let it be heard to our members and organizations that we work with that the Republicans didn't want to listen to what we had to say to them. So I think people are going to have to make up their minds come 2008 on which is the party that's going to be working for them.
Immigrant groups say they will continue to send warnings to the Illinois Republican Party to pay attention to the needs of the immigrant community or pay the high price of losing all these votes from their immigrant constituents come 2008 elections. Don Tagala, AAN News.
North and South Korea agreed for the first time in more than 50 years to let trains cross through the border. According to the Associated Press, the military agreement allows a rail test last week for trains to cross the tightly sealed border since the tracks were cut off in the middle of the Korean War. This historic milestone is not only a sign of improving relations between the North and South, it's also good news for the economy. South Korea hopes the inter-Korean railways could eventually be linked to Russia's Trans-Siberian Railroad. This will save a lot of time for freight deliveries that now require sea transport. The tracks have been reconnected as part of a series of reconciliation projects since the two sides held the first ever summit of their leaders 7 years ago. The Illinois is Home campaign is now one step closer towards passing a bill that would make Illinois roads safer. While the bill is still pending, our Don Tagala brings you the story of an illegal immigrant who drives in Chicago without a license. This man is the future recipient of the landmark bill if it is passed.
Well, I am presently driving without a license.
Tito is among the estimated 250,000 undocumented immigrants driving on the freeways of Illinois without a license. Due to his current immigration status, Tito requests that his real identity not be revealed. Because of his immigration status, he and about 250,000 others in the state of Illinois do not have social security numbers, so they cannot get a driver's license or insurance. Recently, the Illinois Senate Executive Committee passed a landmark bill that, if signed into law, would allow undocumented immigrants to drive legally, safely, and with insurance. The bill is now at the state Senate and will have to go through further debate. But once passed, Illinoisans will feel much safer driving on the roads again. The Roadway Safety Act will be called to a vote in the Illinois Senate in the coming weeks.
We have confidence that it will pass out there, but we still need to work on this. Until the governor signs it into law, it's not law.
Because we're going to bring it home. It is the right thing to do. It is about public safety. It is making sure that everyone who is driving in the state of Illinois is identified.
The new driver certificate will help curb $630 million worth of damages by some 76,000 accidents caused by uninsured drivers in Illinois.
Sure that if people are going to take to the roads, that we make sure that they pass a driving test, that they get some kind of documentation from the state, and probably most important, that they buy auto insurance, so that, you know, and God forbid if anything happens to them or their vehicles or someone else's vehicle for that matter, then they'll have the insurance that can help cover the costs of the damage.
The proposed driver certificate is limited for driving and car insurance purpose only. It cannot be used to board an airplane, enter a federal building, or nightclubs.
Don Tagala, AAN News.
Still to come, find out what Chinese residents in D.C. are doing to bring their Chinatown back. Tibet's Dalai Lama made a stop in Chicago, and stay tuned for the story of a not-so-desperate housewife. All up next on AAN. While our Chinatown continues to grow, Washington, D.C. is facing the opposite of that. As time passes by, national chain stores are creeping in, causing a gradual buyout of longtime Chinese mom-and-pop shops. But the local Chinese Community Cultural Center is now on a mission to bring their Chinatown back to life.
The Chinese culture is, growing in popularity.
But the number of Chinese residents living in the area are dwindling down. Local Chinese stores replaced by familiar names like Starbucks, Radio Shack, CVS, and Hooters. Although it seems like Chinatown is losing its grip, one community center is here to stay.
And it's basically a place for us to educate residents and visitors to Chinatown, what Chinatown is, what Chinese culture is all about.
The center, founded last year by 3 main leaders in Chinatown, is run by the children of those 3. One of them is 25-year-old Stephanie Cheng, the executive director of the center that runs programs from Chinese classes to art exhibitions.
My dad is like grooming me to take over every aspect, and everything that I can take over, he's grooming me to do.
The problem, as Cheng pointed out, is with the next generation who didn't want to continue the family business. But like a visionary, Cheng sees the glass as half full.
It's getting smaller in size, but I feel like the spirit of Chinatown is coming back. You have younger generation of people more involved in like community efforts and Chinatown, just like Chinatown activism,
She and two of her childhood friends are active in the center, working with the mayor of D.C. to bring in more Asian businesses back.
We're trying to work with the Office of Asian Pacific Islander Affairs under the Executive Office of the Mayor for D.C. government. We're going to try to work with them to create programs where they get benefits, you know, if Chinese businesses come in. Not even Chinese businesses, Asian businesses. Where, you know, we're open to all Asian cultures. Just because it's a Chinatown doesn't mean, you know, we're going to exclude other Asian cultures.
If you would like to expand your business to Washington, D.C., call the center or log on to their website on your screen.
After a decade in office, Tony Blair announced his resignation as Britain's Prime Minister. The longtime Labour Party leader will officially step down on June 27, leading to an election for a new party leader and Prime Minister next month. Blair has officially endorsed Finance Chancellor Gordon Brown to take his place. Brown is considered the heavy favorite in the upcoming election. The Dalai Lama was in Chicago to teach about universal messages that cuts across religions and beliefs of racially diverse Chicagoans. AAN has more on the teachings of Tibet's spiritual leader, the 14th Dalai Lama, during his recent visit to the Windy City.
It was a holy Sunday for many Chicagoans, a day to find inner peace in a world full of turmoil. Hence the title of a public talk by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. A sea of about 1,500 people from all walks of life flooded the J. Pritzker Pavilion at the Millennium Park in downtown Chicago to listen to His Holiness speak.
So simply just to come here, look, our talk. That's very good, no problem. Then some may have the view that Dalai have some special kind of message, and you will get disappointment. I have nothing to sort of to say some special things, and then the worst thing, some people may actually believe that Dalai Lama has some special kind of power, or miracle power, or healing power. That's absolutely nonsense.
Believed by Tibetan Buddhists to be a reincarnation of the deity of compassion, the Dalai Lama assured the audience he respects all kinds of religions and encouraged listeners to apply his teachings to their own traditions. This is the Dalai Lama's first Buddhist teaching in Chicago, but the spiritual leader of the Tibetan people talked about messages of hope and happiness, topics that people of different religions can relate to.
So therefore, I think very basis of our existence, our survival, very much based on hope. Hope means something good. Therefore, very purpose of our life meant for happiness. This is my belief.
An impressive and diverse lineup of performing artists from around the world complemented the Dalai Lama's presentation. The Dalai Lama's appearance was made possible by the Tibetan Alliance of Chicago. Proceeds from the event will benefit the Tibetan American Center for Cultural Understanding. Don Tagawa, AAN News.
3 Asian American CEOs shared their secrets to success last week, how they got to where they are, and what it takes to be successful entrepreneurs. From real estate to software development, young Asian Americans learned the ropes about the risky business of starting up a company.
The conference room on the 34th floor of Sears Tower was packed. Young Asian Americans sat and listened as CEOs take turns talking about how they got thus far.
It really frankly started with my mother. When I was young, maybe in the 3rd grade, and she started talking about it, that when I was in India, obviously, and when I was young, she would say, look, I have everything, but 2 things that I don't have is education and independence. And you are going to go to America, get your education, and you're going to be independent. And that's how she programmed me. And so that's what I wanted to do ever since I was like 5 years old.
The National Association of Asian American Professionals hosted the one-day event they say is much needed.
I think the biggest thing is that Asian Americans oftentimes won't pursue the risky route. So I think there are some entrepreneurs out there, but not that many. And as a result, people think, well, I don't know if I can succeed because I don't know how many other successful Asian entrepreneurs there are out there. We're hoping through this event people say, you know, it's possible. I mean, there are 3 very prominent, very successful Asian American entrepreneurs who have made it, so to speak. And hopefully, because we will see that these people have made it, it will give people an opportunity to think, I can do that as well.
The 3 CEOs were Dr. Adrash Arora from Mulal Technology Partners, Thaddeus Wong, co-founder of At Properties, and Dr. Anal Purohit, CEO of DPM, one of the few woman and minority-run healthcare agency. When asked what's her secret to success,
look at your strengths and develop your goals. And it really doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. There's a normal distribution in life. There are going to be people who are going to hate you for who you are. And they'll find a reason to hate you or not like you. And that could be because of your ethnicity, because of your race, religion, sex, whatever it is. And what I have decided to do is that I really don't worry about them, because in that normal distribution there are enough people who also like you and respect you and are going to give you business and are going to support you. So just concentrate on the positive and go your merry way and you'll succeed.
NAP Chicago is a non-profit organization for Asian American professionals. They hold events throughout the year that involves professional development, cultural awareness, and community service.
Growing class sizes mean a growing market for graduation tickets, some of them legal, some of them not. This spring at colleges and universities across the country, hundreds of students are scrambling to buy and sell graduation tickets over the internet at sometimes 3 or 4 times the original price. At Princeton University, tickets for the class of 2007's graduation ceremony in June are being sold for up to $750. Colleges, however, are beginning to crack down on the practice, alleging that ticket scalping is illegal. A Filipina mom discovered her hidden talent while traveling from one country to another. Tired of just being a plain housewife, she decided to expand her horizons by venturing into a hobby that proved to be worth her while. Don Tagala has more.
She was a stay-at-home mom for a husband whose work takes the whole family moving from one country to another, until she realized there's more to life than just being a plain housewife. She became an artist.
So I've always been interested with art since I was a child, and then because of my husband's job, it was quite difficult. I found it very difficult to be always moving and looking for a job for myself every time. And so I wanted to do something that I could do at home. And especially when we moved to Switzerland, I met an American artist who was teaching there at the time, so I took private lessons with her. That's how I started.
Art has not always been a part of her life, although she's always been interested in art, and not just art, paintings and such, but all kinds of art, fine arts, a student of the fine arts, music and all the rest. But she's really paid much more attention to art and producing art in the last 8 to 10 years or so, sparked especially when we lived in Geneva, Switzerland, when she was encouraged very much by Jean-Michel Bouchardy, her art mentor, her teacher, who were
trained by a world-class artist. Eliza Wangern is now a budding painter whose creativity juice is overflowing, as shown by her artworks. Her obra maestras were recently exhibited at the Philippine Consulate General in downtown Chicago.
Oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. I'm so touched by my friends. They arranged everything. I just hung the pictures, and my husband helped a lot in hanging and framing, and my son is here today. It's so overwhelming.
I'm extremely proud of my wife, Eliza. She's an inspiration in so many ways. And that can certainly be seen by her artwork here tonight, which is a deep expression of her own sincere feelings of life and enthusiasm and energy.
For more information about her art pieces, you may contact Eliza Wangerin at 847-657-6835, or you may email her at elizawangerin@yahoo.com. Don Tagawa, AAN News.
Thank you for choosing AAN, your Asian news leader. Please note that AAN will soon air on Monday nights at 7:30. We'll keep you posted on that. Meanwhile, you can catch our rebroadcast Tuesday mornings at 8 and tune in next Monday at 10:30. Our Elaine Lowe and Don Tagala has the full coverage on Looptopia. And if you have any questions about our show or have story ideas, write us at AAN41Chicago@AOL.com. I'm Ingrid Yanada. Thanks for watching.